And normally we have a backup facilitator that is kind of note taker extraordinaire. So I'm going to kind of bounce around. So when you see me typing, it's not that I'm not paying attention to you, it's that I'm taking notes, and then we do kind of a summary afterwards. So I thought we could go around maybe and introduce ourselves first, and I'll go first. And my name's Kristen Mastel. I'm at the University of Minnesota, and I'm an outreach and instruction librarian. And I liaison to a couple colleges, continuing education and extension. And I'm wearing my Hope shirt today. Just a little side note, it's World Kidney Day. So stay hydrated. Drink an extra glass of water today to make your kidneys happy. So with that, we'll just kind of make the rounds. I know Colette doesn't have a working mic, but she will use the chat. So feel free to chat in your response. And then a little bit of housekeeping. I'll try to remember to do this, but when I'm not talking, if you hover over your picture, or at the kind of top of your screen, you'll see a little microphone with a slash through it. So we can mute each other so we don't pick up each other's noise. And if you notice that I forget and I'm typing, just remind me. Yeah, so if someone wants to go next.
I can go if you want. So I'm Jonathan Torres. I am the business librarian at the University of Arkansas. I've been here roughly around 8 months or so. Funny enough, I've worked here a couple years ago, and I took a position somewhere else. And my spouse couldn't find a position where we were at, so we decided to. I decided to reapply and come back, and everything's good to go. So I'm kind of new here, kind of not. I service the business schools, so it's roughly around 6,000 students in over 120 different faculties. So it's a lot in terms of servicing, but I've been doing pretty well. And I'm looking forward to the discussion that we're going to have.
Nice. Thanks, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
I can go.
Yeah.
So my name is Kyriakis. I work at the University of Texas at Arlington Libraries. My role specifically is actually outreach and events. So I'm always working with coordinating and planning student events. I also do lots of outreach efforts in terms of you have your standard tabling around campus, promoting of the library services and things like that. Participating in student orientation, like introducing them to library resources and such. So, yeah.
Nice, thanks. Courtney, last but not least, if you're around, do you want to do a little intro? Looks like we might have two folks without a mic. Okay, so we have Colette, and Colette's at San Francisco, University of San Francisco, doing reference instruction outreach, liaison to the English department. Awesome, nice to meet you. And Courtney working at Mount Royal University in Calgary. Hello to our neighbors up north, since I'm in Minnesota. And outreach lead. Okay, event planning, coordinating, great. And you're in a noisy office. Yes, I understand, like shared office spaces. I luckily do not at the moment, but okay, and you service the entire university. Great, thank you all for the introductions. And at the very least, we have some connections here. So I'm hoping that you can just broaden your network and get to know some other folks. We can meet up at conferences, and you can bounce email questions off one another. So we can just kind of continue the conversation after today too. So I'm just going to kind of run down the list, but if you want to divert us and you have a burning question at any time, or you want to talk about something slightly differently, go for it. Courtney and Colette, you'll just have to use the chat feature, and I'll try to keep an eye over there and mention your comments. But So our first kind of question today has to do with like what is your picture at your institution? So do you have a budget for outreach activities, and how does that impact what efforts you're able to do? Whether you have no budget or moderate budget, or maybe you're lucky and you have a really nice budget that you get to work with. How does that affect your kind of planning and coordination and all of that? So I'd love to just hear different situations, because we're at different sized institutions and things. So love to hear what you all have to say.
Well, for me, I guess I would say I have no budget. I don't have a set budget. So I kind of do budget proposals every time I have an event. I try to plan ahead of time. That way I can present them the amount that I'm anticipating on spending for the year. And then we just kind of work through it and see if we possibly need to cut, or if I can, increase or stay where I'm at. So that's kind of what I'm working with. And I would say that kind of just forces me, in terms of force like as a bad word, but it does force me to be a little bit more creative and tap into other resources for funding and just different events that I would like to do.
Yeah, well, at the University of Arkansas, I have to propose somewhat of a budget for any outreach activities. Um, and I'm not too sure if it's large or not. I'm assuming that it's not, but and I think it does depend on the outreach activity, whether it's for a particular business or, since I service a business school, whether it's for the business school or whether it's for the university as a whole. It really does depend on on that for the most part. Well, other strategies that I like to do essentially is if I can collaborate with like other departments, that's another way that we've been kind of saving money on the back end and in terms of getting other resources. So in collaboration with other departments, it's been pretty good.
That's great. And we're going to talk more about collaboration, because I'd love to like learn what departments. So maybe there's one I haven't really thought about before. So great comment. And I'll just mention mine, since I'm on the St. Paul campus of the University of Minnesota, so I'm not doing outreach for the whole thing. So again, similarly to you all, I have to write a proposal and kind of per each activity kind of get that approved. And we're very thrifty over here in St. Paul, so rather than dining services, I'll use Costco, but I know they're kind of being more strict, I think the policies are, as to what outside vendors you can use and things. So that might be changing down the road for me, unfortunately. But for some of our bigger things like orientation, that's kind of overseen by someone else, and there's like a set budget for that. And our friends at the library outreach talks and things, that has another budget. So certain things have set things, but most of us in kind of the non-main library are writing up proposals and things. So let's see here. We have Colette also has a small budget that she uses for catering, swag, and printing. Yep, those are the big ones. And Courtney hasn't been given a specific budget. Most is promoting and facilitating the programming that other departments bring to the library. Okay, so you don't have much to do with the budget part for in libraries, but you do coordinate catering and printing and marketing. Yeah, it's kind of all blended. It depends on, do you consider marketing part or not? We kind of have a communications budget that's separate, but that's totally different.
Yeah, I would say we have the same. We have like a separate communications budget, so that I normally don't include into anything that I'm proposing as well.
Yeah. Oh, and Colette says, do you have a form? I should. I don't. I just kind of write up my justification and like a rough estimate, but that's something to consider. What about you all?
I do. I do have a form that I use.
Yeah, I think it's standard. We have to fill out a form and then it gets approved by administration. Yes.
Yeah. Mine's is it's not through administration. It's kind of what I've created and what they've liked me to use. And I feel it just gets the job done of giving them an overview of what I'm proposing.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So does it have like a description and like budget and timeline? I'm just kind of curious
Yeah.
what all is part of it.
So it normally includes date, time, location, description of the event, like kind of an estimate in terms of how much I'm proposing and what supplies I'm purchasing it for or what I will be using it for. If I'm reaching out or working with another department, I include that. And if they're contributing in any way, I include that as well. Uh, and then I try to, what kind of helps me the most is if I'm tying it to our overall goals of the library and the university. So I kind of add that in.
Nice. Kyriakis, would you be would you be willing to maybe share your template with us in the email? If you wanted to send it via email to the one that I sent to you, then I can kind of share it out because hey, we all like not having to create something from scratch.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Jonathan, did you have any other sections beyond?
You know, more or less, it's kind of the same thing. You know, you just have to give a description of what the outreach is, the proposal, and more or less the same guidelines, and it just goes for submission. I don't think there's anything else that's pretty much added. So I just don't know the amount. You know, I kind of propose it, and
Right.
whether it gets accepted or not, that's up to them.
Great. Perfect. Thanks. So I'd be curious. Well, actually, very few of us have like a set budget. But how do you advocate, I guess, for your events with administration? And does your administration have certain expectations, or do they want to see documentation or assessment, or how is that all shaped at your institutions?
Well, that's interesting because I don't think we have an assessment or any type of justification as long as we're tying it into like an overall initiative or the goals for the university libraries. But the plus is if you are collaborating with a particular department and really touching base with their particular goals and initiative as well, because they're always looking for some form of partnership with the other departments. So any type of collaboration is always a plus when you're seeking any type of funding for outreach.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'll come back.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, you know what? I just thought of something. I think we keep statistics based on like how many people. Let's say, for an example, if we did an outreach program for like study abroad students, we would keep how many students are coming up to us, asking us questions, things like that. I'm not too sure how that data is being used in terms of justifying stuff because we've been doing it pretty much every year. We have study abroad fairs, and so I'm not sure how we're using that particular data, but it's always good to have statistics based on interacting with people and things like that.
Yeah, I try to do assessment for all my events. Most recently, more heavily active in assessment, but it's more of just kind of showing administration why we have these events and the impacts that they are making. Always tying them back to library goals and making sure that we're hitting those areas of our library goals and imperatives for our I'm losing my train of thought. But like your mission statement, that's where I'm getting towards.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I usually report back, of course, like head counts, but we're trying to make a bigger effort to get kind of beyond that, to gather more stories or um, by chance, if we host this event, do we see more students coming by the library using different resources or things that we maybe highlight after that? So it's a harder jump, it's not cause and effect, but just trying to go beyond head counts. It's challenging, but we're trying to do that. And at least at my director level, my director expects to hear back and know if it was a successful event or not. And we have had one instance when we tried gaming events here and they just didn't fly. People want to do that in the comfort of their residence halls or at their gaming club and things. So instead, after numerous fails, we decided no, we're not going to keep trying to push this one. Clearly, there's not an interest. So instead, we're collaborating with the gaming club, and we're collaborating with especially faculty across campus that use gaming, and trying to understand how they're using gaming systems in their courses, and see how we can support that. So that's one example of how we've kind of switched a little bit.
And Courtney, can you touch base on the visualization lounge that you're touching base about? I'm interested in learning about that, the visualization lounge on the campus. So what's it consist of and how are students gravitating towards it?
Yeah, and how you're hosting events there. That sounds really great. Darn, I wish we could hear your
Yeah.
voice because I'm sure you'd have a lot to share, but feel free to talk some more about that.
We are going through a massive renovation very soon, so I'm looking for any ideas or concepts that other libraries are doing and maybe, just bringing this to the attention of our administrators. So that sounds very interesting.
Yeah. I can say at Minnesota, we just created this collaboration studio space. So it's where researchers, faculty, and students can come and meet with different teams within our library. So like our publishing, our copyright team, our digital arts and humanities folks can meet there and do projects, but it's also event space. And then right now we're just starting to put up like 2 big digitization screen kind of areas in that space that they're gonna show like faculty research and videos and different things on. But this is like brand new. So again, I'd love to hear what's been successful so far. Let's see here. 60 people, used for presentations, has touch screens. So a giant extended screen just to interact. Oh, great. And she posted a little link so we can all check that out.
Thank you.
I am going to copy that and throw that in the notes before I lose it. Perfect. Thank you. And the next part, I think it applies to all of us. No matter what size your budget, you always want more, right? We can always do more if we had more. So what are some of the challenges you've encountered if you don't have a budget at all, or if you have to, always write proposals? So I'd be curious to hear what your experiences are.
I would say for me, sometimes some of the things I would like to do might not necessarily be feasible with the amount that I'm proposing. And then also with doing the proposals, it's kind of where you're waiting for someone to approve it, and then whether or not they want to cut some things, it kind of can change the whole idea that you had originally planned, depending on if they are going to cut it or if they don't approve it. I hope that makes sense. So those are some of the challenges that I've had.
Hmm. I mean, some of the challenges I would say that I've encountered personally, I think this is from like a personal assessment, is that when you are doing any forms of outreach, you want it to make it the best as possible. You want to make it visually stimulating, very interacting. And if you are on a tight budget, it's somewhat difficult to do that correct if you want to purchase t-shirts or any type of swag and things like that, and you can't do it. And sometimes if you are doing an outreach initiative and maybe you have 6 or 7 departments in the same area promoting kind of the same goals. You don't want to be that table that doesn't have all the materials and things like that. So sometimes that's a challenge, and having administration and having people who uh, whether propose this budget or accept this budget to make this as I don't know. I don't know how to say it. As convenient as possible for us. You want to make sure that you're representing the university libraries as best as possible, and you want to do that with your best foot forward. And sometimes it costs.
Yeah, thank you. And Colette's commenting that there's been a struggle because there's some resistance to formalized outreach here, allowing us to use a proposal form, for example. Also, outreach and marketing are linked here. So you'd like to see a little bit more of a separated model. Yeah, there's pros and cons to, to both, having those so connected and not. But yeah, not compromising the quality that you're putting out there for people to connect with. Yeah, it's a fine line of trying to make use of your right, especially I'm at a land grant, being thrifty and making wise use of the public's money and whatnot, and making it go as far as we can, but also putting on a really polished, nice event. So yeah, no, great points, everyone. I fully agree with all those, the challenges and the workarounds. We kind of already, sorry, I kind of jumped ahead in our questions and conversation, but we already touched on assessment. So I'm just kind of curious if folks want to share some other ways that you've been doing assessment. If you want to give an example of one activity and one time you did assessment, that would be great too.
Well, I can share something that I did a couple of years ago with collaborating with the Study Abroad Business Program. And what we did, we created a certificate of completion with Mango Languages. So if you're not familiar, Mango Languages is a database that has over a bunch of different languages. You can learn at your pace. It's compatible with your phone. And a lot of the students are going to other countries and don't speak that particular language. And some of the languages we don't offer here at the University of Arkansas. At that time, I think it was Portuguese. I think we offer Portuguese now, but that was kind of the selling point for us for students to join this certificate of completion. And we kind of based our assessment based on that, whether students were interested in this type of outreach. And we had a bunch of students sign up, I think over 45 or 50, created their own profiles, things like that. So that was one type of assessment on how we can assess how we're using our library databases and resources, and B, to see what type of information we're putting out that's attracting the students.
Okay, I love that idea. We don't have those language databases, but that could be really interesting. But our public libraries system that surrounds us does, so we could always encourage students to get public library cards and kind of partner that way to study abroad.
I'm sorry. I should put this as a disclaimer. I would say touch base with the language department first, because I think that there was conflict in the beginning, because I think they thought our perception was we're giving certificates after learning 16 hours of Mango when we weren't. It was just something that we wanted the students to learn, engage, for a certain amount of hours, and then we give them something as an incentive. This was no way a certificate or certification of a language. So once we got that hashed out with the department heads at the language department, they were good to go.
Nice. Yeah, you're not testing skills. It's providing
Right.
a service. I like it. I like it. Yeah, it looks, I don't know if Colette or Courtney, if you have any thoughts or an example of assessment here. Um, One I can think of is we did do like a mystery shopper with our big orientation event. So we have like 4,000 students come through this library experiencing different things put on by the libraries and some partner groups as well. And so we had just a couple of student workers come through and kind of be mystery shoppers and just kind of to look at the flow of everything and to engage in the activities, to give us feedback on the actual activities and things. So that was something a little different with that such a big event. That was kind of cool to get some feedback that way. We of course do like head count, gate count, and we also did some like oral interviews kind of throughout the day where our communications marketing folks came over and filmed and pulled asked some students if they'd be interested in sharing their experiences. So that's been a couple things so far. And Colette said that head counts, collecting questions asked and comments at tabling events. That's always a great thing too. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I would say that those are some of the things that I've done as well. We have a really cool feature in the entrance of our library. So we have like these entrance gates, and on the sides there's these glass walls that we call them. So we use that a lot of times where we'll post a question on there, and students can go on the walls and respond using like expo markers and such. So that has really been fun and engaging. Of course, you get some not so great responses, just like not even related to what we're asking them, but that has been really good feedback with doing those, and it just depends on what we want to ask for that specific season. Done surveys after events. Obviously, we keep counts. So one assessment that we have done, we have therapy dogs that come to campus, and a professor reached out to us to use our group of dogs in his research study involving therapy animals and stress levels of students. So that was a really cool kind of assessment to where he's sharing his information from data that he's collecting, and it just happens to be with our group of students and with our dogs. So we are able to tie that into our programming and kind of give administration a little bit more backing for the program. Not to say that they're not proponents of it. I think that's like one of our most popular programs that we have, actually.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like the follow up that you're building connections with faculty, reinforcing that, and then it's kind of also just advancing. I'm sure you'll get lots of PR from that, just not only the therapy dogs, but also the research afterwards too. So that's super great. I'm getting all of these ideas from you all. It's great. Thank you. Oh, and Courtney, okay, looks like you're waiting for approval on follow-up survey for internal groups. Yes, our institution's large, so you have to kind of send things up and down the chain, and that takes time. So, yeah. Still in the process of formalizing assessment, Courtney says. Many events have been with other departments. Yeah, so it can be difficult to get feedback. That's true. It's an ongoing challenge. So, yep, great. So we've alluded to this. I know we've heard about like study abroad centers and writing centers you all have mentioned, but I'd love to hear what are some of your other campus partners or student groups that you've had on your side, or even outside of the your institution. Are there like local companies or businesses that you've used to either help put on an event, either to like formally help fund it, or just, you know, to help out with staffing and things like that? And did you think you both got something out of it, or was it more heavily in their favor versus the libraries? So I'd love to hear some of your experiences around collaboration.
Well, I can touch base on a mini conference that the university libraries did, and it was coordinated by 4 people, including myself, and this was for primarily the geoscience students, which requires mapping and things like that. And we collaborated with some of the professors in terms of putting this together. Obviously, I have no background in geoscience and mapping, and they provided clarity on what direction we could take. So that's very good. In terms of, I would say, I forgot the company's name. There was a few vendors that we have access to in terms of their resources, and they're always willing to give us T-shirts, water bottles, things like that. And this is actually a cost-effective solution. We've done this with other outreach activities before, is asking vendors that we're willing to, I don't want to say promote their services since we have their services, but if they would send over T-shirts and cups and things like that, and they do it for free for the most part. It's free of charge, and they send boxes of them. And yeah, so that's another way in terms of collaborating is with vendors and with other academic departments. Yeah.
I would say for me, I've done a variety of collaborating, but definitely with other departments, specifically with faculty members or people with specialized knowledge. They're able to provide that knowledge that we might not necessarily have expertise in. So that's always a very good collaboration when we can do that. Specifically, we just launched science cafes. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. But they're where you have these informal discussions revolving a specific scientific topic. But we've partnered with faculty members who are doing research to be our speakers for that. Partner with College of Business for our Money Smart Week. So variety of different areas. Another program that I wasn't directly the lead on that we have done is with our experiential learning department, but they partner with Tandy Leather Company, and they were able to donate us leather masks during Halloween. So that was a fun program where we taught students how to make these really cool masks using leather donated from Tandy Leather. So we reach out to a variety of people. So.
Very cool. Let's see what Courtney has to say here. Colette, put on something with the National Park Service. They were used to doing outreach, and it was really fun. Oh, and she likes the idea of Money Smart Week. That sounds fun and super useful as students are graduating with so much debt these days. Where we can educate them before, it's great. Yeah, National Park Service, that sounds fantastic. Was it for National Park Day? Or I wonder what all it was around, but very cool. Let's see, Courtney says mostly it's been positive in terms of driving traffic to the building. A lot of faculty, staff, and community partners attend events, which seems to result in increased demand for spaces. Yeah, marketing and communications, assisting getting the word out about events, planning a long night against procrastination in partnership with Student Learning Services Department. They're excited to see where that goes. Yeah, that'll be a great win. So great. Oh, and it was your centennial, so I'm sure the libraries were a big part of that. I know our archives division has been not so busy because it's been like a lot of centennial celebrations lately because of the age of our university. So they're just always super busy around those and marketing services with that. So great suggestions. Yeah, I applied for like an innovation grant. We just had this small set of money that we could just dream up something and apply. So I'm on the more agriculture side of campus, and we have graduate and family housing just like down the street, and they have garden plots. So I applied to buy some gardening kits, so like get hand tools and things, so they could check those out, kind of what public libraries more do. And so that was pretty popular, but I didn't even think to budget for too much marketing. I kind of forgot about that. So I contacted Seed Savers, which is in Iowa and a big proponent to saving seeds and sharing. And they gave us a great discount to purchase some seeds. So that was really great. And I've gotten some things donated from other businesses, but again, policies are changing here, so we'll see how that is down the road. But these are some great campus and outside partnerships you all have mentioned. So thank you. Lots of great ideas. So the next one, and this is kind of a fun one, just to share some other strategies. Like, what was your one favorite low cost or shoestring or maybe even free outreach activity or marketing or something that you did? And or do you have a favorite tool that you like to use that's on the lower side of budgeting? So I'll leave that open for commenting and chatting about.
I can share, and this kind of goes back to the collaboration aspect of it. Um, the dean of the business school and I wanted to create a outreach initiative for reading. So we wanted to tie in our business collections and just tie in what's the faculty and students' favorite books to read and things like that. Have a little mini interview about it and post it on YouTube, and then these little sessions go to the emails of the undergraduate, graduate students, actually the entire business school. So it was low cost because they have the equipment and everything like that, and it was fun. It was fun. It was interactive. Students got the opportunity to recognize me. I think this was kind of in the beginning stages of when I came here, which was interesting to kind of do. It was a little nerve-wracking in the beginning doing interviews on camera, but it was fun, and the faculties and students really enjoyed it. And it was low cost, but it was going back to that form of collaboration. So if they have the tools, or if you're partnering up with another department, they're always willing to help out the libraries if it's for a cause. Yeah. And I can send you guys the link if you guys want to take a look.
Yeah, that would be great to see an example.
Sure.
I think some things that I have used that have been successful that are low cost are things like we did these study break stations where we just provide students with like crossword puzzles, coloring pages. That's been really popular. So those are like inexpensive things where you can still have a pretty engaging event because it's things that you can just print off, so you're not really having to buy too much items. Definitely partnering with other organizations and departments are beneficial because they might have resources that you don't have, to where they're not even expending money, they just already have it. Like we've shared our popcorn machine many times. So yeah, so those are just a glimpse of some of the things I've done. I'm trying to think more. But definitely partner with other organizations definitely helps in departments, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. Looks like Courtney does study break stations too. Yeah, they're very popular. Courtney. Okay, limited in connecting with businesses, donations, go through a number of channels because you're a publicly funded university. Oh yeah, Canva. If you don't use Canva, I have like no graphic design skills. It's saved me so much. I love it too. See, tell me the posters that, yeah. So yeah, you're liking the templates and it's free. So I tried using like Adobe Spark is the one that I played with recently to do a little bit more movement, short video type things. Um, so yeah, those are some great ideas. And then the last one is like, how does outreach on a shoestring impact the value or expectations of outreach within your organization? If you have any comments around that, I think we kind of already talked about, fine line of it being, cheap, but also being polished, being good stewards. So yeah, just wanting to make sure that the quality across all of our events is at a certain expectation. And then other ones might, we have certainly some larger, really, really big author talks or, fundraising things that we might spend more money on. But yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts around the value and expectations around outreach and budgeting.
Yeah, it's just to kind of touch what you were saying about just the quality is important. I think when I'm doing any type of outreach, I try to make it as quality as possible. But trying to be creative in that aspect, because I think all libraries, whether it's public, institutional, whichever, we all have certain financial constraints. So I think it's important for us to kind of be innovative in that aspect and try to do the best we can.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it looks like Colette says so too. It looks like they've done some smaller things like coloring tables and whatnot, and demonstrating like success with some of these smaller, little more affordable things has led to more in-depth outreach and making justification. So it certainly can launch you a little bit. So that's great to hear. Oh, and Courtney mentioned that they use that shiny Visual as advertisement space for what's going on in the library and other places on campus. So cool. That's very nice to hear. That was kind of our last question. So I don't know if folks have other questions or things that we didn't cover that you'd love to share. I'll just kind of leave the last few minutes open for anything that you want to, tips, tricks, things you want to share with others.
I think that was it on my part. This was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, all of you, for participating, whether chatting or talking. And Courtney mentioned, yeah, they have a couple of those really big events throughout the year, and others are kind of relationship building. And that's all, right? That's all the goal of outreach, is building those relationships, whether it's students, staff, departments. Colette's interested. Whoops. Oh, who has a dedicated outreach person? Can other staff also participate in outreach or do programming? So yeah, what does outreach look like at your institution? Are there lots of people that contribute? Is it coordinated by one person? What's the situation at each of your institutions?
I think it's a collaboration between multiple different faculty and different people. We have a few committees. I know we have an outreach committee as well. And I guess it depends on the different areas. If, let's say, for example, if we have a diversity and inclusion, then we kind of collaborate on that in terms of putting outreach for that. So I don't think it's one person, but it's more of a collaborative effort.
I would say the same for us. It is definitely more of a collaborative effort, and it just depends on the program. Like, I'm the main programming person for student outreach and events. We have 3 other people that do event coordinating, but it kind of depends. It depends on the department that they're in within our libraries, if that makes sense. So, yeah, we have point people for the kind of, sort of, but we still have a lot of collaboration among our staff members. And we're constantly forming committees to help with a specific event.
Right.
Rely on a lot of other staff members, especially for a lot of my events, especially for, we call it Tail Wagging Wednesdays, but that's where we bring our therapy dogs to campus. So.
Nice. Very cool. Yes, death by committee sometimes. This is our name here. Yeah, we have like one person. We have a first year experience librarian, Kate. She's amazing. So she coordinates a lot of the outreach things, but pretty much a lot of public service staff and liaisons volunteer, though we are trying really hard to, like, especially orientation that day when like 4,000 students come through, we need all hands on deck. So we're trying really hard to recruit everyone in the libraries, like making sure that non-public staffs people have the opportunity to volunteer if they want. I shouldn't say even volunteer. I really don't like that term because it's a part of everyone's work. And everyone's work contributes to using different services. So whether you're in cataloging or not, what you do impacts our students and faculty. So that has been something it's been a struggle, an ongoing struggle, but we're trying to communicate that. But I would say our first year experience coordinates some of those bigger things, and then we have lots of little smaller committees that coordinate things. And Courtney comes from a event planning background, which is great. So she does a lot of the logistical and marketing and things, and then works with other folks, it looks like. And she's welcoming us all to go visit the Viz Wall. So we could do a road trip. Be a really windy road trip to pick us all up and come visit you. But thank you for the opportunity. That would be really interesting to check out sometime if any of us find ourselves at a conference or somewhere around that area. We should certainly come visit. I'm mindful we have like 5 minutes left. Does anyone else have another comment or two? No?
Nope.
Okay. Otherwise, just thanks for hanging out for an hour. I'm going to send you a follow-up survey, so would love to hear your experience. If you have suggestions for other topics, we're always looking for that. And if you ever want to volunteer to help out on the committee, we're always looking for, and it's very low-key, always looking for more volunteers. But I hope you have a great rest of your week. It was really nice to meet you all virtually. I think we're going to have like a meetup at ALA Annual in New Orleans. So I hope you're able to attend that. Actually, we're putting on a program that I'm actually on the panel. So I need to get working on that. So come to that, but we'll also have like a little meetup too. So hopefully I'll see maybe a couple of you there. If not, we'll be in touch. So.
Yeah, and I did send that proposal document to you.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. So I will send that. I'll just attach that when I send the evaluation email so we can all see that. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Y'all have a good rest of your day.
See you, everyone.